I want to talk to you today about how to take a gig, how not to get roped into something that you just don't want to do. Now, today, in today's modern society, a lot of times, I would get a text message, for a gig, and the text message would start with, hey, you available, this date? And, there's some employers that I would immediately, no matter what, the circumstances were, I would just say, yeah, I'm available that day, or no, I'm not. I can't do that one, man. I wish I could. But then there are others that would say, hey, are you available Friday? And I knew better than to just answer yes or no, because it could be a situation that you just don't want to be involved in, or a place that you don't want to play anymore. And you learn these things over time. So there were people that would, say, hey, are you available Friday? And I would say, okay, what is it? How much does it pay? What are we playing? All of the questions that you need to ask. And you might ask, well, why? Or what difference does it make? Well, it makes a big difference. If you're being paid, let's say the gig pays $150, and you're having to learn a whole stack of tunes for one gig, let's say 40 songs. Let's say it's a 4-set gig. The time slot makes a huge difference. As you get older, I didn't want to do 10 to 2s anymore. And there were certain clubs that I loved playing back in the day, like Bourbon Street Blues and Boogie Bar. I love playing that place. It's a lot of fun. The crowd gets into it. The crowd is like right up on you, which is what I love. But the way the monitors are, they are literally mounted on the wall in front of you. It's like there's this, below you, there's this, dance floor, and the club's out there, but then there's this wall where there's this second tier upstairs with a balcony that people can stand on the balcony and watch you, which is cool. But the monitors, because the stage is so small, the monitors are flat across, blasting you in the face. And then, you've got the fact that it's not usually a 4-piece playing in there, the prime slots. It's usually, guitar, bass, keyboards, 3 horns, maybe 2 vocalists, drums, the whole thing. You're talking like, 8, 9, sometimes 10 pieces jammed on a stage that's really just big enough for 4-piece. It's really like when I used to play there, and it was on, off nights like Tuesdays and Wednesdays and stuff like that. The weekend gigs, I would always hire a horn section, but for the weekday gigs, 4-piece would be all you needed: guitar, bass, drums, and a lead vocalist. And we would have enough room to move around and everybody could be comfortable. But man, when you're up on a tight stage like that and you're playing guitar, and then there's not even enough room to move your feet, we're on stage. Think about it. We're on stage for 4 hours with a 7 to say 9 pound weight around our neck. And, when you've got that bearing down on your shoulders. Now, let's see if I have it here. here's a pro tip that I use. This is what I use. I don't know that you can get them anymore. I guess Buckethead used these, but to alleviate the shoulder pain of a guitar, digging in, look at that, just digging into your shoulder. That's me applying pressure, but this is a stretch strap. You can see that it stretches. And so what that does is when you put that guitar, down on your shoulder, and that guitar pulls on it, it's gonna pull the strap down, but it's also gonna give. So when you're pressing down on the guitar and you're playing, it's never going to just cinch down like a regular strap and pull into your shoulder. So for me, this has been the only strap that I've used. Now, Ernie Ball makes a version of this, and you can get it at the Amazon link in my description. It's not for everybody because, like I said, the guitar is going to bounce while you're playing, and you're going to have to get used to that. And it's a funny story, but I used to work with a guy, had a close working relationship with Steve Cropper. So Steve Cropper would come out sometimes when we play these little club gigs, and Steve Cropper is famous. And Steve Cropper is famous for, the Blues Brothers and Sam and Dave and, writing all those incredible songs like Sitting on the Dock of the Bay. And I mean, he's a legend, right? But I would bring him up to sit in on my guitar, and I'd have this strap, that makes the guitar kind of bounce on your shoulder. And he thought I was pranking him. And he didn't understand that, this is my way of kind of alleviating shoulder pain from a guitar pressing down on your shoulder. So that's my pro tip. This is a #1 stretch strap, and I believe Levi's made these for a while. Yeah, this is a Levi's. And I don't think you can get these anymore. They every now and then they'll come out for a while and then they're gone. But Ernie Ball makes a similar strap. It's a Ernie Ball stretch strap. And so that is something that I use to just be able to get through, those long gigs. But as I was saying before, when you're on a small stage and you can't shift your feet, you can't move your feet to position, where that weight is being balanced on you, man, that at the end of the night, man, your feet are just going to be killing you because, you need to be able to shift your weight and shift your balance and all of that. So that is why, when I would get a text message, hey, are you available Friday? And I'd say, well, what is it? What do you got? I wouldn't go, yes, I'm available Friday. Now, if I was a young man and, in mode where I took everything that came in, and that was for quite a while, I would do that. I would take anything that came in. But as I got older and I kind of, got some of my finances in order, it got to be like, okay, I'm married now. I have a little kid. I don't want to be out somewhere till 2 a.m, walking through a dark alley after my gig at 2 a.m, carrying a couple grand worth of guitars and a pedal board and an amp. I always knew, man, I am completely vulnerable when that happens. And I know some players that were robbed in Nashville of their gear. So that is why when like I said, call comes in and I go, I'll even say, is it Bourbon Street? And they go, yeah. And I go, dude, I don't do that gig anymore. I just don't do it. It's not because I don't like it. It's not because I don't like the band that, I'd be playing with. But I just cannot squeeze into a small stage, stand in one spot for 4 hours, and have that level of blasting, those monitors just blasting in your face, the vocals, the horns, all of that. I just can't do it for 4 sets. I just can't do it. So, the important thing is to get the details. People where the details might be sketchy, those kind of people will just ask you about the date. Hey, are you available this date? And I'd be like, okay, what are we playing? Oh, well, we're playing this. Okay, how many songs do I have to learn? Think about it. If you're getting paid $150 and you've got to learn 40 songs, think about how much time you're going to take, even if you're just skimming through the songs and you go, hey, I know about 10 or 15 of these already. Even then, if you're spending, 4 or 5 or 6, hours, and that cuts into what you make. All of a sudden, that 150 where you thought you were making, what would that be? I was never good at math. So $100 for 4 sets would be $25. So you figure, was it $35 an hour? But then if you're adding another 5 hours or 8 hours or 12 hours or whatever it takes you to learn this material, and of course, some material is easier than others. You can fake your way through some material, but if people are calling a lot of like iconic pop songs or classic rock songs, man, sometimes you have to play the solo. You have to play there's some of those songs where it screams play the solo, whether it's like Jesse's Girl. I mean, that's got an iconic guitar solo. I can't hear somebody just noodling over that solo. If I hear that, then I just go, man, this guy didn't do his homework. The same thing goes for, I don't know, Hit Me With Your Best Shot. Those are both Neil Giraldo solos, but man, to me, they're a huge part of that composition. And if you're having to play a lot of that type stuff, a lot of classic rock type stuff, same thing with just Don't Stop Believin'. Yeah, those are iconic little parts, man. You've got to play those right. I had a guy tell me once that they had a guitar player on a gig, and they told him, look, we're going to play Don't Stop Believin'. Do you have it? And he said, oh, yeah, I think so. And he says, no, do you have the intro, the and they listen to it and goes, oh yeah, it's just a trill. It's a trill. It's not a trill. It is Neil Schon picking, and hammering on and increasing in speed. And this person listened to it and it's a trill. It's a trill. Thinking it was just doing this, and it's not. And so, of course, when they played the song, they butchered the intro. It takes a lot of time to play these songs right. And even if today I knew I was going to go play a gig and I knew I had to play some of those songs, I would have to brush up on it. I would have to warm up, those on the gig chops. You got to keep those at the ready. So when somebody asks you, to do a gig, get all the details. Now, I've had some people say, I started asking details and they just blew me off, But look, dude, if they're not willing to tell me how much I'm getting paid and, what songs I need to learn and, any details on parking or any of that stuff, then, man, I don't want to do it anyway. There's a, stalwart blues, R&B, soul singer in town. And I remember I got the call to do that gig. And, I just started asking questions. Hey, well, how much does it pay? What are we playing? How many songs do you need me to learn? All of these kind of things. And I think the guy got frustrated. He thought I would just take the gig and be, oh, it's just amazing, because there are some great players that have played that gig. Guthrie Trapp played that gig. There's another guy, Tom Sizemore or somebody like that, had played that gig. And I got the call as a recommendation from a friend. But man, when the band leader called me and he got aggravated that I was asking these questions, because man, I just, it doesn't matter who it is. If the money and the time spent and the load in and all of that stuff ain't right, I don't care if it's the Pope, man. I don't want to do the gig. It's just, it's just how it is. And it was no offense to me. And I wasn't bothered that I never got called back, because I don't think I could do that date, or I was like, no, I think I forget whether I just flat out told them I couldn't do the date. And that's another thing. There are some people that you don't like to work for. But if the gig is right, and if it's at the right place, and you can manage expectations versus the reality, then I will do those gigs. So that is why I always ask, well, what is it? And I might know that this band leader is not always on the up and up, but certain places that they play, the pay is good, and I can manage, everything, and I'll do those gigs. So that is why I will always ask, what is the gig? What is involved? What's the parking situation? All of those things. Now, like I said, there are some people that they ask me to jump, and I'll say how high, because I know that always, even if this one might be a character builder, these people are always on the up and up, and they'll always make it right. But, you've got to be careful when you accept a gig, when you just say, yeah, I'm available. And I had another time where I took the gig, and it was kind of with trepidation, but I was like, I would say, look, man, I need the song list on Monday if I've got to play these songs on Friday. And so they gave me the song list, and I started working on the songs and getting some charts together and putting them all, kind of organizing them on the iPad and, all of that stuff. But then the night before the gig, they decided to also add a female singer, and then email me another song list with another 20 or 30 songs on it. I think it might even have been 40 songs. Now, I know we wouldn't do all those songs, but man, that is enough to send me into a tailspin the day before a gig. And I just said, bro, I'm sorry, but I am going to not be able to do this gig. I cannot handle being dropped 40 songs on me the day before the gig. I've got a family. At my time, Mia was just a baby, and there is no way, because man, it got harder being able to spend that time to learn the songs. When my child is hungry, she doesn't care that dad needs to learn the solo to a song, and it's gonna take him an hour to do that. She doesn't care, and frankly, my wife doesn't care either. So, at that point, I just said, bro, I'm out. I'm sorry. But, I'd already learned 30 or 40 songs already. And then to be dropped on that the night before, and then that sets me up for potential failure. When you're having to play material that you're having to cram for and learn, a day or two before the gig, you can get on the gig, and it happened to me where, a song that I barely had time to even listen to, but I had a chart for, and then they call the song, and it's like, man, this is not material that I listen to. It's not on my radar. And man, it was a tough intro of that song because it was just guitar. Everybody else was just waiting on me to do it so they could fall in. And I'm like, hey, guys, help me out here. Like, and it's moments like that that I cannot stand. I cannot stand failure, on stage. And, I've been around long enough that 99% of the time that doesn't happen. But man, when we're having to cram songs like that, it's just, it's just setting you up for failure. And when you're dumped at the last minute, you dumped, another 30 or 40 songs and less than a few hours before the gig. That's just unacceptable. So be careful what you say yes to, because once you've accepted the gig, it becomes harder to back out. And I don't recommend people backing out on people on gigs. I told him, I said, man, this is not something I like to do, but I cannot, possibly learn all these songs that you just dumped on me at the last minute. So be sure and qualify before you accept a gig. Make sure you get all the details, you get all the information so that you don't run into a train wreck.